Hey, what's up? I'm Joel Madden, and this is Artist Friendly. On this episode, I'll be talking to singer-songwriter and all-around emo queen, Jax. Let's go.
Smoking on pip, that's my kind. I don't want no bad times. I don't want to have bad.
We're meeting for the first time.
Yes.
That's cool. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Even though I'm not going to lie, I met you when I was a small child.
You
but
did?
Yeah.
Where?
I think it was it was either in Pennsylvania or
At a show?
Yeah.
Oh,
at
wow.
a
The Good
show.
Charlotte concert?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, as in my kid band, we did a couple of shows on the leg of Forever the Sickest Kids, Good Charlotte.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What was your band?
Oh, God. See, is this the thing you cut out? Can we bleep it? So no, they don't stop
please
me.
don't. We need to know. The origin story is very important.
It was a band called Meadowland. We were a kid band.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you guys have fun?
It was so much fun. We geeked out. I was a huge fan of both bands. So
Wow.
I loved Forever the Sickest Kids too.
How old were you?
I think probably 13 or 14.
Okay.
Yeah. Like a bajillion years ago.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
How long were you in that band for?
We went through a total evolution, but probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years.
Change names, change players.
Eventually went on my own
what
way.
A great development process.
Yeah. I mean, we were Warped Tour kids and we just loved it as fans and then ended up forming a band covering songs and then writing the songs and,
Yeah. I feel like that music doesn't get as much credit as it deserves for the formative years of musicians who are learning how to play instruments, write songs, make bands, tour, all the stuff, the DIY of it all that you actually have to have if you have a career. You have to have some amount of DIY always.
Yeah, there was a spirit to that for sure. And I think you could see it in kids that grew up in that world. People don't even realize that DIY is still here. And I think even the way pop songs are structured, there's so many kids that grew up in bands and emo bands and they just ended up being pop singers or pop songwriters out here and you'd never know it, but so much of it is inspired.
Because that was pop.
It was totally pop.
Guitars,
and it still
heavy
is.
Guitars.
Yeah, even Victoria's Secret was so inspired by that generation. I love playing that kind of music. I love writing it. It's I just love the anthemic, because that's so goofy to say that to you.
No,
this
not
is the anthem.
No, not goofy at all. I love that song.
I love that song too. But Simple Plan and Green Day and all of that.
Yeah, I don't dismiss our music ever. I put my whole life into it. So
I could tell.
It was great. A part of my, it still is, but that was a part of me on the journey of becoming the person that I am. And it was all encompassing, at the time. I had never left. We were from a little small town in Maryland and I love that place, but I had never been out in the world.
Yeah.
And then I discovered music at 15. Mm-hmm. So I was a little late, I think, to the party. My mom was very protective and religious.
Were you not allowed to listen to stuff?
Wasn't allowed to listen to music.
Whoa.
And we had to sneak it in.
Whoa, that's somewhat even cooler in a way.
And then we were just this whole world. This whole world opened up to us from the radio. The alternative radio back then was in the 90s was such a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel a lot of the emotional development that we didn't get to do at home because we did not talk about anything.
Whoa.
Everything was God's going to fix it.
Hush,
just shut up.
Okay.
I'll give you something to cry about.
So you had a lot of angst.
So there's a lot of pent up, making sense of life, making sense of growing up, teenage. Yeah. So I felt I was really stunted in my growth. Wasn't really allowed to date people when I was a teenager. So we left home 17, 18. We had started Good Charlotte and we went into the world and everything was new.
Yeah.
So we were just psyched.
You guys were kids in a candy store.
Every place was amazing.
Yeah. Wait,
this is amazing.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, and I feel that's such a birth of misunderstood emo music too.
Yeah. Yeah. So also though, probably the sadder part about it, but the reality. So it's very low self-esteem, very underdeveloped emotional intelligence and security and confidence and When everybody knows more than you, you're never catching up.
Right.
In any situation.
I mean, that just goes in life. I'm like, even not just as a green teenager. I just feel like even coming to Hollywood, it was that way too. I was like, oh God, there's like such a culture and I don't understand it. And everybody seems like they know what they're doing so much. It's so scary.
Well, that's the idea.
Yeah.
But it's not the truth. Because look what you've done.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
It was the second I kind of retired that insecurity, I think.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. It's like, I stopped caring about what I was supposed to do and then just did what felt natural.
Which is where you started.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So we always reject our young selves like we don't know better.
Yeah, your inner child.
And we're like embarrassed by them because they were honest.
Yep.
And we're taught to be a little dishonest, I think.
Yep.
Always like, look this way, present this way. Don't act like you like it too much. Don't act like you're too impressed.
Yeah.
So we are always like taught to be a little dishonest.
Yeah.
Like as we get older, because the world doesn't want the truth.
Yeah. There's this like cringe culture too, where it's like,
yeah, which is like, yeah, I don't subscribe to any of it.
Anybody that's like not cringe and not like doing their thing. I just feel like
if we're being honest.
Yeah, if we're being real. It's so true.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to say? No, I don't want to be successful?
Yeah.
Or I don't want you to like me?
No.
I mean, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But then if I say, well, I'm going to protect my disappointment when someone's like mean to me. So I'm going to say, I don't fucking care. Fuck you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if I'm being honest, it hurts my feelings.
Yeah. Then I'm up at 3 a.m. like, oh my God, the one comment.
Yeah. Because that's how it works. Because I think that's like the honest truth.
Dude, 100%. I actually like started wearing contacts recently. Probably should have been doing that a lot earlier, especially when I drive. But
I'm supposed to wear glasses when I drive.
Honestly, that's safe. That's unsafe. You should wear them.
My vision is getting worse as I get older.
I think me too. And I'm staring at a phone so much in the Matrix, but I figured I'd get started in this last tour. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'll throw my contacts on stage. Maybe I'll stop tripping on shit. And then I regretted it. I regretted it so quickly because it's the same concept of, but I guess before I wasn't seeing past row 3 and I was just loving the first 3 rows and that was totally fine. And then now that I could see, I just see like that grumpy old guy in the back by the bar and I'm just honing in on him no matter what, even though I have this like wonderful audience of supportive people and then it's just that guy and I can't stop thinking about that guy. And then I start to project it. Like my performance is
why isn't he
for him
smiling?
You know, why am I performing for that guy? Like instead of
do you ever think
these
like
guys?
Do you ever think like maybe he like just lost his job or maybe he's going through a divorce or maybe he ate some bad fish or maybe he like I don't know. Like, do you ever think like that?
Always, because when I'm a concert goer, I'm hyper aware of how it feels like I worked harder than a concert. When I go to a concert, if they could see me, if the artist can see me from the stage, I'm like doing my best to make sure they feel seen and just smiling ear to ear and going crazy just so they don't feel like I'm some like LA douchebag that's judging them, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm having a really shitty day and they would never know that. But if I wasn't trained to be that way and really, you know, hyper empathetic, then, and I was just there at a concert and I was having a really horrible day, yeah, I'd probably be that guy.
Well, that's very kind of you. That's very conscious of you. That's conscientiousness. Conscientiousness is a really, really important quality. And a lot of people have, I'd say everyone has some of it.
Yeah.
Some people you could say are completely devoid of being conscientious and conscious of other people. But then you have those really empathetic, conscientious people who are hyper aware of it, which I would say that's a sign that you are one of those.
Well, I think it comes from trauma. I'm like that deep feeling of you just don't want someone to feel. Yeah, it's such everything is so just. I realized it's funny today of all days we're talking about this. Yeah.
I was driving in because we've recently relocated out of town.
Okay, jealous.
Which is great.
Yeah.
But it's far.
How far? Where are you at?
Westlake Village.
Okay.
It's 50 minutes.
Okay, gotcha.
With traffic.
Really pretty over there. Yeah.
So I was driving in, and our best friends, me and my wife, our 2 best friends, him and his wife, we're on this like text chain, and it's like always like jokey, and it's like if somebody needs something, but it's like a rolling text chain, the four of us, and we joke around. Right. And his wife passed me, I guess. I didn't see her. And she made a joke like, turning left on Moore Park, you look like you wanted to kill someone. And I wasn't even, I was just driving.
You said resting murder
and
face.
I realized, and I've gotten this from my kids, from my wife, but I've gotten this multiple times. But I realized like 90% of the time when I'm alone in the world doing anything, I have like a scowl on my face.
You just have like resting serial killer.
Resting scowl, angry, I'll fucking kill you face.
Yeah. It's just like, that's ideal as for a husband and a father to have that just around the girls.
It's like, why my kids, I think, don't want me to like come pick them up.
Whoa.
Because I think they're like, you look like you're angry. And I'm like, I'm not.
All the kids are afraid at school of you.
I'm not. But I get it. I think the early years of my life, let's call it 0 to 18. And maybe beyond, because when we went out on our own, it wasn't like the easiest. And we lived in some tough places and all that. I think my disposition to the world is protect myself.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like so deeply ingrained in me that if you see me alone in a living life situation, I probably look like angry.
Yeah, it's just your natural guard.
And I have to work on like trying to check that and be a little more smiley or like a little bit softer.
Nah.
But it was funny
like a
because
mystique to it.
we all laughed about it this morning. I was like, they were laughing about it because they know me really well, and obviously they know that about me. So it's like it's like a joke. But I think in general, if I'm just going through the world, I probably have a bit more of like a stance that's more protective.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's hard not to, especially in this business. It's like
it's tough business.
Yeah, it's tough business, and I mean that probably saved you from a lot of situations that you're not even aware of. Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
No one's fucking with you.
No.
Unlike me, I'm just like mirroring at all times.
Yeah.
Just.
But there's some value to that though.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
You can make
I'm working on that on the other way.
Probably a little bit of a survival thing.
Totally.
Going into the world, trying to make it.
I'm a theater kid too. Just grew up on stage so much and grew up like thinking you had to just network all the time. You know, that was put on a smile all the time. And I'm like, when I meet somebody, if I'm not matching their energy, I'm panicking. I'm yeah. So, and then I come home and I was like, did I overdo it? And I probably did, and bouncing off the walls.
I wouldn't overthink it too much.
Okay.
Just be yourself. If that's part of like your experience and you know it, then I think that's
I'm getting better at it, I think.
There's never been another you that's lived the life you've lived, unless it's coming from a place of like self-love, like growth, how you feel. That's what the motivation should always be. Like, does that part of me that's naturally grown, that feels like I need to connect with everyone and I need to match their energy or whatever. Like, does that part of me, does it feel good? Does it serve me? And then like measure how much of it you like.
Right.
And I would say like always be focused on like how you feel about you.
Right.
And make sure that like anything that you're working on, like from a growth perspective, that you're doing it because of how you feel.
Yeah. I think it's people pleasing is such a crazy issue for me, because half of it is like totally authentic. And the other half is just probably a matter of insecurity or panic, or that like feeling of needing to protect yourself. And it lands me in these situations that are kind of just energy suckers, you know?
Right. Like, where you're like, why did I say yes to this?
And it just took away from a really good, like I'd be out with friends and I really hadn't seen them in a while. And all of a sudden I took kind of one person at a bar to talk about, and I can't seem to just, you know, draw a boundary. Or even for me, a really big moment in my career was speaking to my younger self and younger girls, like through music. And it was such a huge turning point, because I was like, this is so full circle. I grew up struggling, trying to make it in this business and with no noise, and hustled and hustled, hustled. And finally, when I got to an age to do it, and the timing was right, I'm speaking to young girls. So every time I would meet, a girl who had struggled with an eating disorder, or her parents, or all of these, or see people's messages online, I felt like it was my responsibility all the time, 24/7, to not let them down. And it still is. I do still feel that way.